Hello and welcome to Page Turners. Thank you so much for joining us. What we're trying to do here is to bring you interesting authors and conversations around the world of books. And the attempt is to do this every week on Saturdays. And I promise, I know tomorrow we can't do the Sunday Club, but we're definitely doing this every Saturday. And I'm delighted that this Saturday we have someone who is a profound scholar, great researcher on a subject that intrigues a lot of people. There's always a reaction to his subject matter. It's either complete devotion or it's what is the other end of that spectrum? but Ratan Sharda ji,
People go to
thank
the
you.
extent of saying even now that it's WhatsApp University. So,
WhatsApp University,
because we
and
can't.
I think I think that has been used very often to dismiss what the RSS intellectuals, of whom you are one, speak of, and by saying that this is WhatsApp University, etc., etc. And Ratan Sharda ji, that is where I think, and of course we'll get to the book that we're discussing today, which is Conflict Resolution, the RSS Way, which is Ratan Sharda ji's latest book. But of course, he's written far many, a lot of books. I think maybe a book a year. I don't know how he does it, but I think. One has to learn from him. I think it's that Sanghi discipline that makes him sit down on the desk and start writing. But
In fact,
Ratan
I have
Sharda
written
ji,
more books while traveling than while sitting on the desk.
oh,
Only
really?
COVID. Yes, only COVID made me sit down and work on the desk.
So, this, I think what you're doing, of course, you're deeply researched. Everything is deeply researched and very well put together so that it's accessible to the normal reader who may not have a background or knowledge of what the RSS does and it stands for. And mostly because most of us, frankly, know more of the RSS through opinion pieces in newspapers than actual interactions and literature from that part of the political spectrum, although you will disagree with me that it is not part of the political spectrum. But a lot of people, with the BJP being in power, believe that the RSS is very much a part of the political spectrum. And Conflict Resolution, your book itself, shows how the RSS has dealt with issues that have been politicized for decades.
Well, Advaita, it's up to you how you look at a particular problem. For RSS, any national problem is beyond politics. So you'll find that when you see the book, you will find that, of course, you have read the book. So people who read the book will find that RSS criticizes the government of the time when required, supports the government of the time when it is important, and despite criticizing it, it has joined the government in any effort to save the nation or save a society or solve a problem. So it's not political in that sense. But issues in India, we have a habit of putting everything in a political bracket. That's why half the problems get bigger and more noisy than they should be.
That is I agree with you on that. But tell me now, this claim make RSS makes very often, that we are bipartisan. In that sense, we stand by the nation when there's a national problem, say a war, as has happened in the past. The RSS has been steadfastly behind the government of the day, whoever be that government,
Yeah.
without any. Those are extreme situations, right? And of course during emergency also, which you have again researched and looked at the role of the RSS during that problem. Can you tell me of other less volatile situations where the RSS has risen above political considerations and supported, say, a Congress government?
Well, you talked about Northeast. If you look at Northeast, it was volatile, but at the same time, it was very long-term solution, in the sense that it was not easy for RSS to break into that area, which was highly dominated by the church of various kinds, and there was also terrorism, there was also extremism, separatism, and RSS took upon itself to first create a base and bring people together on the common grounds. So what RSS does is basically tries to find the common cultural underpinning and then tries to nurture the whole society around it and slowly build a narrative which is counter to what is happening there. So this is very important. If you go to Northeast, there is no, in fact, it is not part of the book, but to tell you, during emergency, Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram and Vivekanand Kendra were not banned because Indira Gandhi knew that they are working in Northeast, they need to keep on working. And she didn't ban the organization, though she was very much anti RSS. She banned RSS, thousands of people went to jail. But as far as two offshoots of RSS were concerned, who were inspired by RSS, of course, she knew about it. They were not banned. So they went on working in those areas. And if you look at 62 war, Nehru had continuously criticized RSS. In fact, he was a major influencer of what anti-RSS environment you see today. But it supported Nehru totally in 1962 war, and in fact Guruji had warned about a possible attack from China. It was not taken seriously. One of the big problem is that when RSS points out an issue, governments of the day generally try to just evade as if some typically apartheid against the RSS, intellectual apartheid. They will not listen to its solutions nor its sharing of the information. So that is one example. In case of Jammu Kashmir, again the same thing happened. That though it was Congress which had faltered in delaying the accession, RSS went full fledged ahead to support it, even at the cost of hundreds of lives. Who fought on the front first with the Dogra army, and second next with the Indian army in Jammu Kashmir to fight the aggressors who came from Pakistan. And again, it was even after that, after the work in partition during Punjab times, again it was not partisan about whom to support or how to secure people's lives. Muslims girls were sent back to their families when they got caught in some crossfire, and that is recorded not by an RSS documentation but by Mr. A.N. Bali, who was a professor in Lahore, and his book Now It Can Be Told is a major documentation of the time. So in every situation, RSS stood by the government but criticized even BJP. So when Musharraf came, there was a resolution which asked the BJP government to be very cautious about how they want to deal with Musharraf and about the outstanding issues. So whichever government it is, of course, 65, Lal Bahadur Shastri ji himself invited Guruji for a meeting, and the only non-political leader called, and again RSS took major part in it to support the government. You're saying something?
No, no, please go ahead, Ratan Sharda ji. Sorry.
Yeah. So any situation, even during disasters, it has supported. It has not gone by the government. Whether you look at Andhra cyclone, whether you look at Tamil Nadu cyclone, or you look at earthquake, any kind of disaster, it has not looked at the color of the people or of the government. The famous Charkhi Dadri crash, which was Saudi Arabian airline, all the people who were saved, who were buried respectfully, belonged to a different religion. They were all Muslims. And even the local people are not ready. They were persuaded to come. The Maulanas are persuaded to come to give a decent burial to those people. So religion or government or the party in the power doesn't matter. There is a situation where RSS feels its need to intervene and support the national cause.
Ratan Sharda ji, there is this other thing also where there's a feeling, and it's very strong now. In fact, Rahul Gandhi, in all his statements, always says the RSS slash BJP, the BJP slash RSS, where they are trying to equate the two as one. And when the RSS, like your book Conflict Resolution, speaks about these national issues from the perspective of the nation and national interest, now doesn't that get really slippery slope? Doesn't that become a real slippery slope, because you have a prime minister today, an exceedingly popular prime minister, who's at the end of the day an RSS pracharak?
See, as Mohan Bhagat ji has said, as earlier Dr. ji had said, that Sangh kuch nahi karega, Swayamsevak sab kuch karega. So any person trained in RSS can go to any party. No, that is no more BJP. Shankar Singh Waghela, the leader for Congress for long years when Congress had no leader, came from RSS stock. Or the chief minister of Goa, who left BJP, was from RSS stock. So they are acceptable now. But number of people who can go to other parties is very small, because that is only opportunity which makes these leaders in Congress accept them. But from as far as RSS is concerned, it was open to any so himself doing any work, whether in politics, outside the politics. And if somebody is inspired by RSS, it doesn't mean that RSS is there to work for that particular person or for that particular government. You have seen RSS inspired organizations criticizing Modi government, going to minister with their own delegations. So everybody has its own interest, but being a part of the family, larger family of the nation, they do not work in the way where you are fighting with each other, you are creating unnecessary noise. You present a viewpoint and let the government or other organizations decide. And if RSS, in a way, has been present in all the aspects of the national life, that is what I highlighted in the book, then naturally every action of RSS will impact upon the national issues, will impact upon the nation. In that way, RSS would also be part of a political scene, then, if you look at that way.
But you tell me, if I am a TMC or Congress, why would I believe what you're saying right now? That you have this
Uh,
equidistant
Lastly,
relationship.
yeah, when I was active in Delhi Shakha earlier in a few years, I had seen NCP people coming to Shakha, I had seen Shiv Sena people coming to Shakha, Congress members coming to Shakha. They may be in small numbers, they used to come and they were welcome. So that's one sign. And naturally, if you don't believe in the ideology that we are a nation and we are an ancient nation which has a civilizational continuity for 5,000 years, 10,000 years, naturally you will not be part of RSS. So for to be
Hmm.
part of RSS, first you have to agree with the very concept of nationhood that RSS has been projecting since 1985. So that is where the difference comes. When you say that India is a country in the making or it's a country born on 1947, naturally you will find RSS ideas a bit, disagreeable. But that is because
Hmm.
that is the way you have been colonized. Your mind has been colonized. But after they meet RSS people, they meet behind the stage. They always agree. There have been people who have come on RSS stage as chief guests, special invitees, and they have come with very close mind, feeling that we will not be allowed to speak. They have spoken openly, privately. Even Congress people tell us we agree with you, but we have our own political compulsions. So leaving Rahul Gandhi aside, they know in their heart that RSS is good of the nation in their heart. Politically, there can be a problem. As I said, the very idea of the so-called idea of India, what RSS is and what these people say, the difference between India and Bharat, that is what keeps them away. But those people who feel that, okay, we will go to RSS, our family will benefit in the sense of getting some sort of good values nurtured, they come and they might go later on. So it depends how long. There are Muslims and Christians who have been part of RSS. I'm not talking of organizations. Actually, Swayamsevaks. Actually, in part, there was Pracharak who was a Muslim Pracharak in Maharashtra for long years. It has
Yes.
been there, but there is no publicity. So for RSS, everybody is welcome as long as they agree to the cultural nationhood that RSS projects.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
this book is beyond that particular definition of Hindu Rashtra, Hindutva, because this book has typically focused on the areas which are not generally looked upon by RSS, by people as part of RSS agenda or RSS work. So, to bring forward the idea that it is much more than just a Hindu organization, it's a national organization in every sense, where every dimension of national life is addressed, issues addressed. If you look at the resolutions, there are about 18, 19 subtopics within those resolutions, and there are number of resolutions. And if you typically look at the states I have chosen, Northeast region, Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, maximum number of resolutions are
Yes.
on those topics.
Yes.
So, and in fact, next to that is only defending RSS from various accusations.
But tell me something. Why did you want to write on this subject? What was it that motivated you?
Well, my co-author, who is my guide actually, Yashwant Pathak, he suggested that he was my guide. He suggested that nobody knows about RSS resolutions. RSS
Hmm.
resolutions are basically the policy framework on which RSS then decides the future action. Hardly anybody knows about it, and they are passed twice a year. They are passed with huge deliberations, sometimes for days together, before they come to the final stage. And there is very open discussion. There is very frank and fierce debate sometimes, and finally unanimity is brought in, and the resolution gets passed.
Can I
Based on
ask
that,
you a question, Ratan Sharda ji, before you proceed? When you say unanimity is brought in, does that mean that every individual who's in that room is okay with it, or is it a question of chalo, let's end
no,
this, kar do?
everybody has to agree. If they don't agree, they might even postpone the resolution. They might even
Okay.
drop the resolution. It will be kept on amending. In fact, as Arun Kumarji was telling in last book release in Delhi, he said sometimes the original resolution which was brought in is totally changed by the time it is passed. So there are large number of amendments, and I know of cases where fierce debates have taken place. And
Hmm.
the bringing to people together to one idea, that is
Hmm.
very important. So to bring in that consensus is key to these resolutions, because only then people will carry it forward. If it is passed by majority or passed by power of some office bearer, then people down the line will not be able to carry it with that conviction. So with that
Hmm.
resolution, which is a body, Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, which has got nominated members, elected by the people from the local district level onwards. All that is not known to people. And these
Hmm.
resolutions then form the bedrock of the new policy. So whether it's Punjab issue, whether it's Jammu Kashmir issue, whether it's Hindu Muslim issue or Ram Temple, from there on the work starts. Now people didn't know that. And people didn't know that how important the resolutions are and what is the process. So that brought me to this whole idea. I went through all the resolutions. Then I chose these three subjects because I couldn't choose all. And
Hmm.
interestingly, I found that only two resolutions have been passed for the top RSS leaders. One is Dr.
Hmm.
Hedgewar, one resolution, one for Guruji, one resolution. There is no resolution about any RSS chief or any celebrity, so-called celebrity person for whom we
Gandhi, for
passed.
Gandhi also, na? Gandhi
For
also, na? Mahatma Gandhi.
when Gandhiji was
Guruji
assassinated,
wrote that. He
there
wrote.
was no Pratini Sabha, but there was
Correct.
immediately a resolution
Hmm.
was sent by Guruji condemning the violence and expressing grief. Individual letters were sent to Nehruji, Gandhiji, sorry, Patel, and the family of Gandhiji. Not only that, the only time when 30 days shok, as you call it, that continuous period of 13 days, RSS Shakhas was shut. Never in the history of RSS Shakhas have they been shut. It was only for Gandhiji's assassination when it was done. So it shows that resolutions are passed based on issues, but this Pratinidhi Sabha, etc., became active only after the 1950 when the new constitution, after the ban, everything started working in a slightly more uh, framed way or much more planned way. That is when the Pratinidhi Sabha started working.
And Ratan Sharda ji, what has been the response to this book? Because even today, so much for saying, oh, this is everything has gone left, everything has gone right. Sorry, and the fact of the matter is that the media is still very much leftist in its sentiments, in its approach, and its worldview, especially the print media in particular. What is the reaction to this? Because these are things where RSS played a positive role. I'm not saying any organization is perfect and it can't be criticized. No, every organization has its weaknesses, etc. But these were very pertinent issues that there was a positive contribution from the organization towards the nation's understanding,
Yeah,
selfhood, territorial integrity, whatever. They've not been covered. Like this was never presented in real time
yeah.
when this was happening,
Yeah, in
right?
fact, pointed out that RSS resolutions used to be distributed to the media houses from day one, but nobody cared to read it. Governments never took it seriously, probably because they thought they had antagonist view about RSS. Media didn't want to publicize, nor did it want to study. Had it even studied the resolutions, it would have found lot of ground level intelligence which they don't have. Because RSS, when it makes a resolution, it has got ground level intelligence from various geographies from all over India, but that they didn't understand the importance. So it was like keeping the harm away, not to give in any kind of coverage to RSS, though it was very important critical issues that were discussed, and that is the reason they never came out. In fact, RSS itself is also to be blamed, which I have even criticized in my book. One of the things was they never really worried that why their viewpoint is not being published. They didn't go out of way to see to it that their viewpoints and their policies are discussed in the public and they are shared with the public, so that they kept on working on the ground. So that is one reason. Secondly, about the resolutions, as I said, they were ignorant about it, or they didn't bother. First book of resolutions was published in 2014. RSS
Hmm.
resolves. Before that, I had to get the soft copies for the resolution when I started work. So that is one point that rankles, uh, because RSS did not take trouble enough. I would say working on the
Hmm.
ground, yes, but getting the view across to government and across to people in the power, that is one thing. Secondly, about the book, this book has been received very well. And
Hmm.
even people who privately who are not typically RSS people, they also loved the book. And there have been bulk buying, there have been distribution, and the first print, in fact, was out of print before the release was done. So
Hmm.
the release in Delhi was already when the book were getting out of stock. So there has
Hmm.
been tremendous response, and
Hmm.
there is positive feedback from people who are not political, who don't know RSS much, and because they don't even know about this aspect, this kind of work RSS done. So in that way, it's very fulfilling, and I wanted the narrative about RSS to go beyond Hindutva, beyond Hindu Rashtra,
Hmm.
fascism, communalism. We can't keep on arguing on that issue because RSS
Hmm.
is much more than that. And that is
Hmm.
the reason if you read, you realize in all my books, I've kept my mention of BJP or political parties to the lowest possible level, and it is always focused on RSS work. So even in this book, I have only kept the references to political parties where there is necessary, and I've gone by the RSS standpoint, what it is doing, what it was doing, and where required, yes, of course, reference to BJP or Congress or Communist is there. But idea was to present a picture where we can understand the dimensions of RSS work, and these are the three dimensions. There are a lot more. As in
Hmm.
fact, I would be very happy to see more people doing PhD on the topics that are there in the various resolutions that are passed. And a lot of work
Hmm.
can be done through that and brought forward.
But this is how interesting, how this is interest, how perception works, right? So you, as a researcher of the RSS, and you have a doctorate on this, you are frustrated that these were not documented before 2014 in the way that they should have been. But on the other side, the critics will say, oh, these were not documented because this is a very secretive, sinister
But
organization.
they were
And
distributed to the
they,
media. They were distributed to the media.
yeah. So
It's
I
not
mean,
that.
this is what I find really funny. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that is as I said, that is one of the issues that brought me to go through these resolutions. And people should actually have read. No, people actually should have gone to RSS, found out what they have done. There are so many issues which can be seen through. For example, when RSS talks about terrorism, doesn't talk in isolated manners. It has connected dots from Jammu Kashmir to Punjab to Northeast to South, and how those right even up to Naxal areas. So there is a network existing even during those times, 80s, 90s, when various organizations, though outwardly different, working in different geography, had their internal linkages. Only RSS brought it out, but nobody, the so-called intellectuals or leaders. You talk of perception. I have read academic papers which says that RSS BJP supported Punjabis writing Hindi as their mother tongue. But I have dug out documents which clearly say that Guruji was very unhappy about this. He when he went to Punjab, he uh, picked up this issue with the local RSS Jansangh people, criticized them, and told them that Punjabi is the mother tongue of Punjabis. It has nothing to do with religion, and there is no reason to divide people on language. It is your language. You must write a language of Punjabi.
Yes.
That came out in
Yes.
the newspapers. But unfortunately, that is not part of the narrative. And if
Hmm.
you look at Guruji's visit to Jammu Kashmir to meet the Maharaja, slowly it is coming out. For years, nobody knew about it. And if you go to the Northeast, the kind of, the wonderful facade, wonderful halo that you see around Christian missionary work, you see entirely different. I would say, to use a stronger word, brutal, it could be softer word. You are better in English than me. So any such word which will be very oppressive, and the way anybody who doesn't agree with them. So
Hmm.
this pain of tribal people who did not want to be Christians, how they were oppressed, how to bring back that bring back their pride in their culture and revive their indigenous cultures. That is the work that RSS picked up there. It didn't force his Hindutva agenda. In fact, another point I bring it when people say Hindutva and Brahmanwadi, in Northeast, when the first is VHP meeting outside Prayag, the first was held in Northeast. That is the importance given. Guruji himself was there. People from various tribes were called. So somebody said these people are animists. Typically, the word used, these people are animists, these people are nature worshipping. They can't be called Hindu, they eat beef. And Guruji of all the people said, they are we are also animists, we also worship animals, we worship nature, so we are same. And as far as their eating habit is concerned, it is some kind of compulsion of the environment, and it will move away slowly. They will move out of that habit, but they are Hindus. But let them celebrate their own tribal identity, their own traditions, their own culture, It was never imposed. Even when hostels were opened, there was no pressure on anybody to, mainstream, so-called
Convert,
mainstream
or yeah,
Hindu,
absolutely.
or from
Mm,
Christians to Hindus. Never done. So this
mm,
approach of taking people along is which people don't really remember. And even in Punjab, uh, the kind of work done. In fact, the book is dedicated to Shri Jai Kishan, who was
mm,
working very aggressively during those time to fight the divisive elements of Khalistanis. He was on the road and he had carried all the risk. He had no protection. He had huge meetings in Punjab. He took out a morcha from Punjab right up to Delhi, met Rajiv Gandhi, Home Minister, President. And when he was called, when he complained to the RSS leadership, that they passed a resolution, what next? So they called him to Delhi in a month. They said, now this is what we want to do. Who will lead? He said, if nobody leads, I will lead.
mm.
They said, you know the meaning? He said, I know the meaning. I'll get a bullet. And then his wife was also threatened. He was threatened. He kept on working. And when I met him in Una for the research, he was so happy that finally somebody is going to document what has been done by Sangh to fight against Khalistanis. As you know, many people in RSS lost lives. Shakas were attacked with machine guns. Muga, of course, is very famous. There are other incidents also. Leaders were killed even recently there by the Khalistanis and maybe ISI people. So all this he carried very proudly, and he had all the cuttings, all the documents. But for him, but for his carefully taken cuttings of newspaper and photographs, there was no documentation. It
But
was
I'll
only
tell you
in
this.
Punjab papers, nowhere in the national paper.
But I'll tell you this, Ratan Sharda ji, you know me, of course, very well, and you know that my sort of interest and involvement really began because I was exposed to the violence against Swayamsevaks in Kerala, which
Yeah,
I consider myself a pretty well-read, well-aware person, which I had never known about, and it had been going on for decades.
right.
So the violence that is meted out on RSS workers, Swayamsevaks, Pracharaks, the deaths, the many, many thousands of deaths, and I'm not exaggerating here, at least the Sangh should have been able to bring that to the forefront, if nothing else. Or was the establishment so formidable and anti that you were not able to do that?
See, locally, it has always taken action. It has always taken action, whether in Kerala, you are aware of that, whether it's Punjab, whether in Bengal or in Northeast. There was no national movement, only national effort done was for Kerala, as you know. And I was also involved in that particular expose of communist in Kerala. At that time, the jihadi violence had not really started in Kerala the way it is now after going after RSS people. And there was outreach and across India where they were exposed totally, and they went on defensive after that. But apart from that, it has not been done. I would say that even in Punjab, I talk about the book which I talked about, Bali's book. And when that book was to be released in Jalandhar, when Guruji had gone there, he was to asked to release the book. He said, "Sorry, I will not release the book because we don't publicize what a son does for the family." Even told the Swayamsevaks that I am not giving you any special treatment, not congratulating you for the kind of work you have done, because it's part of the family. You work for the family. Where is the publicity required? From that, we are come to the stage that now slowly stories are coming out, books are being written, and where the resolution, where I didn't have enough reference, I did go back to RSS books, which were written with a lot of eyewitness accounts, which are sometimes called fake by the so-called seculars, but they are eyewitness accounts. And even so, that is where I find that work needed to be done. I did that work, and I have met people individually who suffered or who worked during those times. It is a very revealing experience, and it is very also heartbreaking as well as very motivating to see how people have worked despite all the odds. There are stories of teachers who went to Northeast and worked there. There are women who have gone and worked there. There are people who have gone there frequently to work in Northeast and come back to the cities. So I won't take a time, but these are all part of the book there if you go through that.
Also, Ratan Chatterjee, as a scholar, when you research these resolutions, of course, across regions, conflict ridden regions, all of that, did you find a consistency of thought or an intention? Did you find conflict? Did you find contradiction? And you said, oh, how did they decide this when in that case they thought
Yeah,
that?
there are some very interesting examples. One example is that in my book I have used much of outside material. So when I talk of Punjab, I don't stick to RSS books, RSS resolutions or RSS stories. I have gone back to India Today, EPW in case of Northeast, and they're very good archives. I have gone to Indian Express and picked up those stories and books also which are not written by RSS people. So I've tried to be very balanced to give the entire picture. That is one thing. Secondly, for example, one of the most revealing example how RSS fine tunes its strategy. See, there is a common cultural element underpinning of every root cause that is analyzed by RSS. At the same time, looking at the local picture, they change their strategy, they change their way of working. In Punjab, they had enough strength right from partition time, so they went full fledged. They went against this Khalistani separatism right from partition times, fought against the Muslim League goons, etc. In case of Jammu Kashmir, wherever they had strength, they straight away went to the borders. In case of 370, it aroused the entire Jammu Kashmir, and an organization called Praja Parishad was created. A vehicle was created which was run by people who had political leanings. They finally merged in Jansangh. So there was a different strategy. The biggest mass movement was against 370, when nearly every resident of Jammu was part of it. Unfortunately, the people who supported accession were called communalists, who wanted to have a separate rule for Kashmir Valley because it was Jammu Kashmir, because it was minority dominated, were called seculars. So you were in fact feeding the very idea of two-nation theory, of having different rules for different communities. But if you go to Northeast, where there was not enough strength, and work started from ground level, 10 pracharas were straight away deputed in case of in case of Punjab. 15 pracharas were dedicated, sent to Punjab from different areas of from India, right from Karnataka to Andhra Pradesh, who had no idea about the local language, local eating habits, etc. Some of them are still in Punjab. So these 10 pracharas, 8 from Maharashtra, 1 from Punjab, 1 from Bengal, they all went to Assam and started working there, realizing they had no money, no resources, and huge opposition from the church of various kind of separatist groups. They also realized initially were finding that they were working more with the people who are not typically Assamese. At that time, there was one Assam, but they had come from outside. Then slowly the work spread. So then every community started joining in. This approach of looking at issues locally and finding local common thread that will bind people together is typically file tuning. And if you look at the way situation changed,
And I think people don't realize this, but it's a lot of hard work.
yeah,
I have met young pracharaks
One
who have
one
been like,
example, very interesting example. You talked about how it happened. For Jammu Kashmir, only once have they done a complete study group who worked for nearly 9 months to give a report based on which resolutions were passed, including trifurcation of Jammu Kashmir. At that time, only talked about 370. There was no knowledge of 335A. There was no knowledge what is happening there in the sense of the depth of the issues. It was generally on Muslims, etc. But then another analysis took place in around year 2000 when a Jammu Kashmir Study Center was set up by scholars, and they went through a lot of other documentation, and the strategy of RS changed. The way it educated people, it came out to 35A, one of the most, I would say, diabolical in the sense that it inserted in the constitution without going to the parliament. It raised the issue of displaced people from Pakistan, which became Pakistan, or about citizenship issue. And they talked about these issues in a different manner. They found out that only 5, 6 districts in entire Jammu Kashmir are actually affected by separatism. And they are all home grounds of these typical valley politicians. They also realized that all the Muslims are not actually against. They started, highlighting the Bakarwals or Pahadis and even Shias were actually all of them, entire Jammu Kashmir, except 5, 6 districts, were always with India. So this image that Jammu Kashmir is against India, it wants separatism, this was killed by this big study that was done, and that is how the entire new approach was created. They were not, the leadership was not afraid of owning up the earlier shortcoming. They were ready to go with the new ideas. So this was a prime example where RSS could also recorrect, fine-tune its strategies depending on the issues and its own strength.
but Ratan Sharda ji, there is also this aspect that it's strange because the leftists will say, "Oh, this is," and the international media will say, "Oh, these are hardcore, rabid, communalists, this, that, and the other," and then you have this, I would say, the hard right or the extreme right, who will then say, "Oh, RSS is so soft on Muslims." Right now you've mentioned Muslims in such an inclusive way. I know that people who will watch this will say, "Oh, there you go. These are the idiots, so to speak," to quote them, who are okay with the diversity and don't know how to stand up for Hindus, etc.
Well, how to answer to that? Because you know, those people who want to join the mainstream, they should be given some way of joining the mainstream. That's all I would say. And to say that, like, very intelligent Hindutva people tell us that we don't have Shatru Bodh, all that is very good English, but when you are talking of a huge community, which is actually second biggest majority, and there are people from them who are against this typical what you call fundamentals of Islam, but are not open about it. They are working. They are being Muslims, but still want to work as part of, as part of the mainstream communities. Then they have to be given space, and if they are given space, there is no harm. At the same time, the RSS never diluted its stand about what is wrong with any community. In fact, Mohanji's statement 3 days back, Dattaji's statement, Dattaji Hoswale's statement a day back is very clear about it. Whether it's Christians or Hindus, or Christians have realized the problem of love jihad. I've met many Christians who say we want to fight this love jihad menace with RSS, with Hindus, because everybody is affected. So even they are realizing what kind of problems they face. They are also realizing being, always in an anti mood or always in the adversary role doesn't help them at all. So these misunderstandings have to go, because after all, RSS has from very beginning said that though believe that we have same forefathers, we belong to the same land. They can be called Hindus. In fact, Savarkar said it. I have noted in my book, which is a part of his Hindutva book, where he says a time will come when all the communities could be called, who are born in India could be called Hindus, when all this bigotry goes. Now, when does bigotry go? That is the question. And when they will realize their mistakes and they will realize that future belongs to India, if they behave more as part of Indian ethos and Indian culture and Indian traditions, and being from from the same shared history, and whether the kind of what has happened, that for years together they have been made to believe that they come from Arabistan, that they belong to Arabian culture, they are not Indians. But if you look at Muslims earlier on, till the Wahhabism took hold, whether Muslims in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, they're very different from the Arabic Muslims. Indian itself, you hardly found any burqa in Kerala. You found hardly any burqa in major parts of Bharat. It has become only now. In Kashmir also, this was not there till 1980s, because in 1975 the radicalization happened when the money from Saudi Arabia started flowing in. Before that, there was no separate identity the way it is being thrown at us now. So when they realize that trying to create a huge separate identity, being always aggressive doesn't help them, realizing that Hindu society is together, it's strong, it is united, it's no use fighting against it, things will change. But they have to realize that that short-sighted way of looking at politics, way of looking at Hindus. Only then they will find a solution. And RSS is not going to stop anybody who wants to change its view and want to join the mainstream. At the same time, it's not going to out of way to placate the separatist elements, or elements who believe that they still believe that they are coming from Saudi Arabia. So this sense of identity with India, that is the main thing. If that gets strengthened and they realize that the Hindu society is strong, we have to live with them as part of the society. Now, what has happened in UP? They have voluntarily removed their loudspeakers. They have voluntarily said we will not do Ramaj on the roads. On the other side in Rajasthan, see what's happening. So this
No,
is
but
how society.
but see, that is the thing, no, Ratan Sharda ji, that Yogi is doing it without fear or favor.
Yes.
But
So
in
that is
Rajasthan, you have a situation where they are definitely doing it with a sense of favor. कि देखिए हम आप के लिए ये कर रहे हैं.
right. So this should there are good governance, strong governance, which very clearly does not discriminate between different religions. At the same time, does not go out of way to put Hindus in a discomfortable position, putting the onus on Hindus to save secularism or to save the sense of calm. I was in a debate yesterday where a very big scholar said that Hindus should be very worried that the kind of image India is putting up in front of the world about disturbances in India. So I asked him why only Hindus should carry the onus of having, the right kind of image of India. Do the other people who are 20-25% of minorities are not really worried about the Indian image? Do have nothing to do with the investment of the getting better economy? Everybody should be worried about that. So the onus of creating right environment right from 1920s, the kind of veto power given to minority, that is not agreeable to RSS even today. So it is not that RSS has given up its earlier way of looking at why the society has to be strong, why it has to be united. Because see, if you see the major problems that India faces today had been facing from 1925 were born into Hindu societies. So naturally, RSS wanted first to have a society which will rise above parochialism, about linguistic divisions, about caste divisions, and create a cohesive society. Once that becomes strong, other questions follow. It is not like universal. Hold on, we talk of universal religion, we talk of universal peace, but we have no peace within ourselves. So all these internationalists who talk about world peace, I don't recognize India. Ultimately, where do they go?
Hmm,
So
hmm,
these
hmm.
main points have to be understood before calling people names, because 96 years of RSS work, the agenda of India has changed, the face of India has changed. We are seeing the result of kind of work done by RSS to today claim that they have no intelligence, to claim that Northeast problem was brought to this. If they think that only Modi ji's development changed Northeast, no, there was 70 years of hard work behind it. It flowered because of this new attention to given to Northeast. Vajpayee ji started it. Modi ji gave a big fillip to it, but what is the background? If you look at the politicians, you'll find many politicians who are product of Saraswati Shishu Mandirs, or product of RSS schools, or product of interstate living, who have gone through the various aspects of RSS work in different ways, and they have that sense of belonging to India. Those are the people today are leading, and that is how the situation which changed had this 70 years of hard work behind it. Even in Punjab, there was nothing against Sikhs, there was nothing against any community. Point was not to let them get divided.
But
In
Ratan
Kashmir,
Sharda,
struggle for
there-
70 years. Who carried the struggle for people who suffered, 1 million people who suffered from partition? Only RSS. Who fought the battle of citizenship? Only RSS. Who kept the issue alive for 70 years? Only RSS. So that is to be understood, that how situation is changed. Ram Mandir, it took the struggle of
Ratan
50 years.
Sharda, but let me come in here. Let me come in here. There is also this sort of we are in a very, I find this very strange when people talk about, oh, India has become this now. I mean, for heaven's sake, this was a country that was divided 75 years ago on the
Yeah.
basis of religion. It is not a new phenomena in our society. So why are we acting like it's new? Yes, we have the opportunity to find a solution. We've never had a bigger opportunity to find a solution for this kind of conflict that has ailed our society for decades. I mean, all our grandparents, everybody talked about it. It's not like it didn't exist. So why are we not able to look at this in a positive way and say that yes, this is a time for solutions, because these are our realities as a society?
See, the people who are leading the left side, or leading the side which believe that they control the destiny of India for last 70 years, and they don't anymore, are the people who supported the idea that India was never one nation. So for them to suddenly find the narrative of Indians believing that they are one nation, they are old nation, that pride in nation, that pride in nationhood, that is what is rankling them, because the whole narrative of 70 years have fallen apart. That we are always the losers, we are nothing but divided society, we have nothing common to share, and we are different nations put together, stitched together by Lord Mountbatten, British, and nurtured by Chacha Nehru. So this entire narrative is falling apart. So this sense of intolerance, there are no, how we able to cover up direct action, how we are able to cover up the entire cruelty of Jammu Kashmir, tribal attack, and by Pakistan who put them in front. How could you forget the bestiality of rapes and murders of partition? How could you forget the atrocities of various invaders? And we simply wipe that away and say, oh, we were always poor, we were always hopeless people, we had no knowledge system, we had no science, we had no knowledge of technology, or our great achievements. So that was the way we had a colonized mind. We kept on repeating what British told us. And leftists only copy pasted it. Now, when slowly the history is being brought back, when slowly the knowledge system is being exposed again, and slowly people are realizing the pride of being Indians because of the huge uh, tradition and culture and knowledge system that we have given to the world, that is not agreeable to the people who want to create a scenario that India is never peaceful. It is not even peaceful. The biggest riots took place during Congress rules across India, and where they were abetted by the people who are today talking about unhappy situations. And now, when the people are deliberately creating riots, for example, Ram Navami, Hanuman Jayanti, there are never riots. They were created. And when they are created, and now the same people are saying Hindus are aggressive, when the documentary evidence across doesn't prove that at all. Hijab
But
controversy
Ratan
was not
Tata,
a controversy about oppressing Muslims. It was done that way. She was not an oppression of Hindu, of Muslim citizenship at all. That was created that way. So this is where the problem is. That is why this situation is created. Basically, the problem is the RSS problem is the Hindus problem is with Modi. So if they are able to, they have seen that 2 terms of Modi ji has given, they removed the ground from their feet, and one more term, and they know they will be nowhere. So they
Yeah.
carefully created a lot of hard work put in for 70 years, even lost, been falling apart before people are realizing. You can say strength of social media, you can say hard work of RSS for 96 years. You can talk so many intellectuals who have nothing to do with RSS, but bringing
Huh.
back the history in true sense with a lot of references, a lot of hard work, that is changing the scenario.
But I want to ask you, and this is really my final question. Time really flies with you. It's already 46 minutes, and I know you need to be off by 8:55. So, essentially, about 5 more minutes max. But I just want to know from you this: you're saying India is changing, people are, the mind is being decolonized, all of those things. Now, is this an irreversible trend, or is this a reversible trend? Because there was a time once when, we were the Sone ki chidiya, so to speak, and then other conquerors and rulers came, and we got pushed back into this abyss of darkness. And I was just reading today that how the Vedic period was a golden age for women in this country. And now look at what we deal with today so far, so much for being modern and progressive. It's horrible time, for women in terms of personal safety and things like that. So when you're saying people have changed and India has changed, is it a reversible trend? Could there be new conquerors tomorrow and we are back to
See,
something else?
politically, Communist and Congress may try to reverse the trend in the sense that they could bring back the institutions, they could bring back communal violence bill, which would put the Hindus in a dock. They could again bring back many, for example, the way they are being persecuted in Rajasthan, but it will not change the trend. I think the self-realization of Hindus, of Indians, of every sect and every religion and region, that has arisen, and this is based on knowledge, this is based on understanding, it is not based on slogans. See, this temporary excitement of slogans, temporary excitement of and antagonistic feelings doesn't last long, and that has been the lesson from day one by all the RSS Sanghchalaks, all the leaders, that work has to be positive, work has to be for the good, whether it's shakha, whether it's seva, whether it's any work, it has to be with a positive sense of dedication. If that positivity has come to the Indians with knowledge of what their past was, it can never be reversed. The knowledge can never be reversed. The knowledge was buried for long years, put under the carpet. Biggest historians are removed from the shelves. Slowly, those things are coming back. As the urge of the youth to understand what India is, what Bharat is so huge. As I told you, some of the brightest minds, youth are writing books now. They are writing good books. A lot of research has gone into their books. And the urge to know, you see youth going to Kumbh Mela trying to understand, questioning sadhus, questioning pandits, what they're learning, what slokas they're doing. Look at the number of people who are ready to learn Sanskrit. I have seen boys and girls from 10 years to 60 years, 70
I've
years who,
enrolled, Ratan Sharda
yes,
ji, I've returned for Sanskrit classes online. It's a kids
exactly,
group and which
exactly.
is open to adults. So I said, okay, I have
And
no
imagine
ego. I
this
can
work
sit
was
for like
started
7 years.
20 years back. It was started by RSS inspired Pracharak Chamu
Hmm.
Shastri ji in the name of Sanskrit Bharati. So when you put a seed,
Yes.
it takes time. People used to laugh, and there are villages who speak Sanskrit now. There are people
Hmm.
ready. So this seed that was put in, the hard work put in, people must realize things don't work on excitement. It works on solid work on the ground. That is
You
the
know,
lesson. For example,
I was speaking to Bhupendra Yadav ji, who was in Dehradun yesterday.
I see.
Wonderful mind, very intellectual. Just had a book come out of the rise of the BJP, which is a bestseller. It's on the Nielsen's top 10 books. So I'm just gonna he's also done a page turner with me a few weeks ago, so you can see that on the channel. But he was saying that Sanskrit is not sentences; it is words. And then he like quoted something which obviously, because I don't know Sanskrit, I can't recall right now, but it was fascinating because he was talking about that, and how different it is, so even as a language.
Yeah, as a sidelight, years back when Rajubai was a Sangh, he was not. He used to go for this Ayurvedic treatment once in a year, and he
Hmm.
was very keen about Balasaheb Deo's quoting Sanskrit shlokas regularly. About Subhasit. It is very impressive. He also tried to do that in his lectures, and he had brilliant mind. But he was not satisfied. He said, "If I don't understand properly, I can't really speak the way Balasaheb Deo used to speak." So whereas in Kerala, he said, I want to learn Sanskrit. So Sanskrit Bharati classes were arranged for him. And
Wow.
H.V. Sheshadri the Sarkareva, was part of
Hmm.
that class. And the other senior adhikaris were part of that class. So even at the age of 70, 75, they were learning Sanskrit. So that
Wow.
Sanskrit Bharati is that
So
old
I'm
institute.
still young. I'm still young.
So all this eagerness, this curiosity about India, who we are, that is what is sparking this interest. For which years of work for RSS, which has brought the very basic level of consciousness higher, for the people
Hmm.
to understand the sense of nationhood, to understand the sense of belonging to this land, which has now
Hmm.
sparked all this. It is not overnight. It is, yes, Modi ji has done lot of work which has excited people, but it is a lot of work on the ground over years which has brought this sense of consciousness in the youth. Because I remember when I wrote the first
I
book
think
around
what Modi ji has done, Ratan Sharda ji, is that he has increased political engagement and interest in politics in the country in a way that people like me. I saw politics is so dirty. I don't want to. When Modi came on the scene on the national level, in fact, a little before that also, when he was in Gujarat, one started looking at it a little more interest with a little more interest.
yeah,
That
yeah,
okay, what's he doing? He looks like he's got the right ideas. He's focused on the right thing. So that is what he's done, because in
yeah.
a democracy, political engagement of the citizenry is very important. Otherwise, it was this cozy club of these families of about 30, 40
Not
families
just
who are
politics. You
running
will be
the whole thing.
surprised that people
Hmm.
who are impressed with Modi ji are a lot of people who are not even in politics. Now they come to us
Yes.
saying we want to work. So there are youth who come to us. There are women who come to us that we want to work for RSS. We want to work for something for the society. So that eagerness to work for the society has increased during this time. Because
Hmm.
when you have a leadership which is inspiring you to do something for the nation, naturally, whether you belong to RSS, you don't belong to RSS, whether you're BJP or not BJP, you want to do something. And that spirit to do something for the nation is the real achievement of Modi ji. And because he has been able to spark that, urge to do something for the society. And as I said before, that the large number, the years that have gone together to bring that situation to this level where people will have that sense of consciousness to appreciate somebody like Modi ji. That has been the silent work that has gone for years.
Hmm. And we're 2 minutes short of your deadline to me, so I'm going to let you go 2 minutes early. Yay! Because I
Thank you
know
so
if
much.
I ask you another question, we'll cross over to 9 p.m. But thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so
Ratan
much.
Sharda ji. Sorry it took so long
Thanks.
to get you on this.
Yeah, this appointment was long due, and I know you have been
I
busy.
moved house, I moved cities in the middle. So, I mean, there was a lot going on in my life. And I know that you've
First
done
thing I
all the
asked you
12
whether in Dehradun
Jyotirlings.
you get the right kind of broadband.
No, we will do an offline show in Dehradun also. I do want to start doing more intellectual activities here. We have great locations, we have great people, an audience, and we have an interest, and we have a great literary history also in Uttarakhand, which we must sort of highlight to the rest of the country. So I really do hope that you will come and join one of our sessions as a speaker.
Sure,
And it's just the beginning of, I think, so many stories that we need to hear, so many things that we need to know about the RSS, and you're doing an amazing job of chronicling it with such detail, such deep research, with such scholarly integrity, that I think that's an extremely important intervention. And most of all, I thank you for assuring me that I'm still young. So, and because people who learned Sanskrit, Sheshadri ji learned it at 77. So I'm still very young to learn Sanskrit. So I'm pretty much in the Rahul Gandhi zone of youth. And that's one thing I like about him as I get
but
older.
you are ready to learn. Rahul Gandhi teaches. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Without knowing. And thank you so much for your praise, and that makes my day and my night also. I'll sleep happily today. Thank you so much.
And then you'll get to working on your next book and have the next book out. And I'll be
I
like,
hope
what?
so. I
We
hope
just did
so.
an interview.
I hope so.
Okay. All right. Take care, Ratan
Thank you.
Shadaji. I'm sure you're heading to a channel. I'll see you on TV now.
Thank you. Thank you.